Ma'am. Now I would like to introduce our presenter, Mr. Surya Kumar Mohapatra, who is the Global Head of Talent Transformation and Learning and Development at Wipro Digital Operations and Platforms. Sir has over 20 years of experience in leadership roles in several leading IT and ITES organizations. Along with leading multiple leadership development programs, he was also engaged in evolving strategies for career development, talent management, and knowledge management for various organizations. Sir speaks consistently in various national and international forums on topics related to HR, learning and development, and corporate culture. Just like yesterday, where he addressed 500 plus universities, vice chancellors, head of B schools across Philippines, Singapore, and United Kingdom on how higher education can be transformed. Sir, it's my honor to welcome you, and without any further ado, I request you to take over the session.
Thank you so much. Um, Good morning, good morning to all of you. And I'm really privileged to be part of this webinar. And this webinar also has the presence of two very senior leaders in the industry. We have the head of the department, management studies for New Horizon College of Engineering, Dr. Shilan Mishra, and we also have Shilpi Khandelwal, who is the president of L&D Global. And it's an honor and privilege to be in the midst of these two towering leaders, and also a great opportunity to be part of this webinar, which is being jointly organized by these two organizations, New Horizon College of Engineering, Department of Management Studies, and L&D Global. And it's always a great opportunity to talk to youngsters like you, who are the future of this nation, future of this country, future of industry and business. I never lose an opportunity to talk to young people like you, because I believe that's my way of giving back to the society, to my profession, to the industry, which has given me plenty. And if if my experience can help you a little bit in shaping your career and your future, I think I would definitely consider myself to be absolutely fortunate. Today, we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. And this webinar is being organized as part of the series which these two organizations are stitching together. The series, which is about the new world beyond COVID-19. And as part of this particular series, we are going to look at today a very interesting subject. And today's subject is reshaping people practices, driving business excellence. So in the context of our times today, the times which are unprecedented, which were never seen before. If we talk to our grandparents, our parents, and ask them if they experienced anything like this before, many of them, or most of them, would say that no, they haven't. If we try to find any parallel to any such black swan event in the past, probably we would find a very few. Now, never before in the history of mankind, more than 3 billion people were locked down to their respective homes. So these are unprecedented times. And as we look at the next slide, these unprecedented times also talk about a battle. This battle is between life and livelihood. But as we move on and look at this closely, we would find that this is not just one battle. This is a series of battles. As you can see in the next slide, this battle is not just restricted to life and livelihood alone. This battle is also a battle between solvency and insolvency. This is a battle between demand and supply. This is a battle between patience and desperation. This is a battle between family and work, a battle between the body and mind, a battle between cure and prevention. Is a battle between should I focus on today or should I look at tomorrow? A battle between healthcare and economy. Should we look at people's health or should we look at the economy? Should we look at human beings? Should we look at climate, mankind, nature, and so on? It's a series of battles that has been triggered by this pandemic that we are talking about. And why I'm talking about this? Because I'm talking about this because today we're talking about people practices and how do we reshape people practices. So it's important for business leaders to understand these implications, understands on our personal lives, on our professional lives, understand the impact on our social lives. That alone can help us look at our people practices and then figure out how we can reshape, how we can redesign the people practices to make life meaningful and seamless for people and make life more comfortable for people and exciting for people. People practice leaders, HR leaders, business leaders have got a very important role to play in this context. Now let's understand the impact of this crisis a little more. As we look at the next slide, you can see the impact of COVID-19 is on 4 different aspects. It has impacted our life and lifestyle. It has impacted our profession. It has impacted our environment and ecology. It has also impacted our business. It has impacted economy. It has impacted politics and so on. So if we begin by looking at the impact on life and lifestyle, let's understand how is this impacting our life and lifestyle. As you can see, a number of implications on our life and lifestyle. The next slide talks about it. It says that as we move forward, hygiene practices will become the order of the day. People will become more and more health conscious. They will not take their well-being for granted. They become extremely conscious. No matter whichever profession they belong to, health would become a very important subject for everyone. This is also going to make our lifestyle simpler, frugal. People would reduce the spend on nice to have things. We might see people setting aside part of their income into savings for future. We'd also see changes in the way they buy, they shop, they play, they talk to their friends. All that is going to change. People will shop, play, connect online. Even we'll see the healthcare system will move online. Some doctors, some hospitals have already announced that the OPDs have gone online already. So if you want to consult a doctor, you can do that sitting in the comforts of your home. You don't have to visit the hospital, stand in the queue, wait for your turn. You can log in at the scheduled time, talk to a doctor, consult him or her, and get the right prescription. Unless it's absolutely critical, you can do that pretty much at home. The way we entertain ourselves is going to change dramatically. Home entertainment is going to be part and parcel of our life. I just got to learn that YouTube it's planning an entire film festival on their platform, entire film festival, which probably used to happen in a big auditorium or in a commercial center. Now is happening on a virtual platform. So see the impact on the life and lifestyle. As people practice leaders, we need to understand how is this crisis impacting our people, and how we as HR and people practice leaders can respond to some of this change. Now let's look at how it is impacting our environment. It's significantly going to impact our environment. You will see that our pollution levels have dropped. Please move to the next slide. And we have already seen that countries like China and Italy have already recorded significant reduction in their nitrogen dioxide levels in the air. Water bodies have been clearing up. We have seen that in rivers like Yamuna and Ganga, they have seen significant improvement since a nationwide lockdown has been enforced. Our air is getting purified, water bodies are cleaning up, and nature and environment is actually see a significant positive change. Now let's look at how it's impacting our business. That's a very important subject. Business is getting significantly impacted. As you can see here, we have already started seeing a severe slowdown in the economy. The world has moved into recession, and it's not a normal recession. It's a deep recession which might continue for several quarters. We are going to see that many industries are going to struggle, but we'll also see that some industries will emerge stronger. We'll see many organizations will just close down, and many of them would be medium and small scale companies. But we'll see some organizations are becoming stronger. They're coming out stronger out of this crisis. Organizations will adopt new business models to survive and excel. Very recently, we saw an example. ITC decided quickly to tie up with the distribution network of Domino's. Domino's were not selling pizzas because nobody was going to the restaurants. And ITC did not have a home delivery network. They had a different distribution channel. They did not have a door-to-door distribution network. And ITC reached out to Domino's and then said, can we tap your home delivery channel? And it can be a win-win partnership, both the organizations. Just look at how organizations coming up with new business models to survive and excel. Global supply chain will become localized with international flights coming to a halt, with movement of goods between countries getting impacted. Organizations, countries cannot depend on global supply chain. So they would prefer localizing their supply chain. A lot of manufacturing activities, supply chain activities, logistics activities will become localized. We'll see gig economy becoming a new reality. Gig economy has already been in practice for some time, but this adoption of gig economy will be accelerated. If some of you are not familiar with what gig economy is all about, it's an economy where we have plenty of contract workers, part-time workers, freelancers, people working for multiple employers at the same time, startup entrepreneurs, and so on. When in an economy which has large number of such workers, they are generally called that economy is called a gig economy. And we'll see a gig economy is getting faster adoption. We'll also see organizations increasing the spend on technology, and technologies like cybersecurity, cloud migration, collaborative platforms, etc. We'll see quicker adoption, and you will see organizations spending money on these technologies. Organizations will cut down on discretionary spend because they would like to protect their cash. They would like to preserve their cash. They would like to prepare for an uncertain future because they know in an economy which has gone into recession, it's very important to preserve your cash, to take care of your working capital, take care of your day-to-day expenses. So they will definitely reduce spend on discretionary expenses. Now let's look at what's the impact on our profession. But before we talk about our profession, a quick look at some of the industries which are going to get impacted by COVID-19. So you can see a list of industries. One on the left, the industries which will come out stronger. On the right, the ones which will probably become weaker. Airline industry, tourism, travel and hospitality, hotel industry, real estate, consumer products, furniture, baggage, luggage, etc., would see a decline. People would stop traveling. They will not think about holidays and vacation for some time now. Automobile, buying a car would be the last thing on their mind. If people are not traveling, they were not going to buy suitcases and briefcases. So the sale of baggages will also decline. So you will see a significant decline in some of these products and industries. But we'll see that some industries are emerging stronger. On the left side, you can see those industries. Healthcare will be number one. Med devices, your ventilators, a whole lot of medical devices, which will be on great demand. Online education will pick up. As we move to this COVID-19 crisis, most of the schools, colleges, universities, including the Horizon College of Engineering, very quickly and swiftly move to online education. So companies who are providing tools, technologies, platforms to enable online education will be on demand. Collaborative platforms, most organizations will go back. They will send their people to work from home. And so they would need collaborative platforms so people can collaborate virtually. E-learning platforms, e-commerce, e-retail, home entertainment. You have seen Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. have really increased their business over the last couple of months. Technology companies, technologies like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, Internet of Things, machine learning, etc., will gain a lot of prominence in these times. So friends, these are the industries. Some of them will become strong. Some of them will probably struggle. Now let's see, what does it mean for all of us? What does it mean to our profession? For a profession, it probably means some good things and then some challenging stuff. So the International Labour Organization has already predicted about 195 million people, full-time workers, will lose their jobs. Some of them will lose their jobs temporarily. Some of them will lose jobs permanently. A work from home is going to become the new norm. Salary components should become more flexible. So most organizations would prefer having a flexible salary structure. It works out well for organizations as people. Organizations would probably prefer this because this does not force them to pay people when they're not working, or probably pay them a minimum wage. But when they're working, when they're revenue generating professionals, they may probably get a different pay. So the pay structures could become flexible. Gig workers will be seen more. Fitment will overrule qualification. This is something interesting. So while qualification is crucial, but when organizations are looking for people, they will look at experience, they look at expertise, they look at the knowledge that you bring to the organization. Will you fit into the role? That's a bigger consideration than the right qualification. We'll also see value proposition will increase. That essentially means what value that you're bringing to the job. It's not about the qualification, experience, etc. that you bring to the job, but are you bringing value? Will you be in a position to create impact in that role? Skilling, online learning adoption, etc. will significantly increase. Now, what does it mean? If you move on, you can see that the new world of work is going to be very different from what it used to be in the past. So as we begin, after COVID-19 crisis, it is not going to be restart, my dear friends. It's not going to be restart. It's going to be reset. All of us are going to set the reset button for a new beginning, because the new world of work is going to look very different. Now let's look at it. The new world of work is going to be largely work from home. Many organizations have already announced that 50% of the workforce will move to the work from home model. And how will they make that happen? Technology, digital will enable that, because people need to work remotely, not just work remotely. Managers, supervisors will have to manage their people remotely. We need the right tools to make all that happen. People need to learn remotely. People need to collaborate remotely. People need to work on projects together remotely. So that's going to be the new norm. Distributed workforce spread across cities, states, countries will be a natural, normal thing. But what does it mean? Why is this important? Well, if today a manager had 50 people working for him in the same office, in the same campus, today they're going to work out of 50 different offices, because every home is going to become a different office. So if I have a manager and I have got 50 direct reports, and that if all of them are working from home, so I have to look after 50 different offices. The internet needs to work there. The connectivity needs to be seamless in each office, in each home, and we all need to make sure that we can engage, collaborate, talk to each other, and then make work happen. That's going to be a very big challenge for people practice leaders, for HR professionals. People who will come back to the campus, to the office, their workplace social distancing will become the new norm. Your desks, your workstations, your floor, the production floor, the office space, everything will look different in the new world. And it's going to be a whole new setup altogether. The well-being, hygiene, all that will have a lot of prominence inside the office campus. As I said earlier, gig workers will be seen more. So people will be walking in, walking out. They'll be working at their at their own pace, at their own place. They would have all the flexibility that they want to have and to have. So, my dear friends, the new world of work is going to look very, very, very different. As people practice leaders, what we need to understand about our people, what's going on in people's mind today. I'm sharing with you some very interesting research findings which have been conducted today. The first and foremost, which is the topmost in people's mind today, is job security. Number one priority. Will I retain my job? Will I lose my job? I have lost my job. Will I find another one? How can I make myself employable? The job security is going to be the number one priority, number one thought in people's minds today. Personal health. Will I remain healthy? If I go back to office, is that a risk? Is there enough guarantee that there'll be no compromise on my hygiene, my well-being, my health, and so on? Child care and homeschooling. So as many people have gone back to home, to work from home, this has become a very big challenge, especially working ladies who wish to work in offices, used to leave their children in a creche or in a school, and when they used to come back from office, they used to bring their children back. But now the schools are running from homes. The husband and the wife, they're also working together from home. The parents and the grandparents, they're all there. So each one of them had their own space, their own privacy, their own time. their own personal time and together time, but all of these have converged now. That throws up a big challenge. So that's going to be the third most priority in people's mind. Personal finance. How do you take care of your finances? How do you make sure that I have enough cash, enough money to take care of the future, which potentially is uncertain, and so on. So these are some of the top issues on employees' minds today, and I wanted you to understand this. And I definitely, all the people practice leaders, they're also thinking about this because it's number one priority. Now, friends, we have talked about COVID-19. We talked about its impact on our environment, on our lifestyle, on the economy, on the work, on our profession, and on the way we work. And we have also talked about what is topmost, what are the topmost issues on employees' minds today. Now let's see how are the people practice leaders going to deal with this, what actions they're going to take, what choices they have. Dear students, the people practice leaders have got three choices. They can either react or respond or reshape. Reaction is all about playing the waiting game, believing that the world will go back to the old normal in the next few days, and people will go back to offices. All of us will go back to our campus. We'll start working the way we used to work before. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If anyone today believes that that's going to happen, that person is living in a fool's paradise. The world after COVID-19 is going to be a new world. So if we believe that we'll go back to the old normal, and if we're not willing to change, we are in for trouble. We're heading towards a disaster. So such a situation, being in such a situation means being in a state of denial. And I can confidently say that most people practice leaders today are not reacting. Majority of them are responding. So what's the response? The response is response to the situation, acting in accordance with the needs and demands of the situation. It's not about getting hassled. It's not about cribbing and blaming others and complaining about the situation. It's about adapting, responding in response, in reply to the situation, the environment, the surroundings that we are in. And most leaders are doing that today. And if you look Indian industries, organizations in India, most of them have responded. And we saw in no time, most organizations actually went back to the work from home model. And the two busiest professionals at these times were the people practice professionals, the HR leaders, and the IT leaders, the IT professionals. HR and IT leaders actually were the busiest. They made sure that they responded to the situation. Most organizations went back to a work from home model, and HR and IT facilitated that. But it's not just about responding. It's also my request, if those who are not speaking, if you can go on mute. There's some background noise. Right. So now the time for, while it was absolutely judicious and prudent to respond to the situation, now it's time to reshape, to redesign, to reimagine. That's the only way organizations can survive and thrive. That's the need of the hour. So let's give a couple of examples how organizations have reshaped. One great example is an example from the government. Government decided that they will convert most of the trains into hospitals. This is about reimagining the way you function. Hospitals traditionally function in permanent structures and buildings. But to ensure that you respond to the crisis, where you can respond faster, quicker, and when you're going to run out of space in hospitals, and when you need hospitals which are accessible to people across the country, villages, small towns, etc., moving your hospitals, converting your trains, railway compartments into hospitals is a great example of reimagination. And that's the order of the day. That's the need of the hour. I shared with the example of ITC tying up with Domino's and leveraging their network, door-to-door delivery network, to ensure that their products reach their customers. An example of reimagination. Automobile companies, they have started manufacturing ventilators. Another example of reimagining. You can reshape, you can redesign, you can reimagine, you can reinvent. Well, that's the way people practice leaders and business leaders can lead the future. So what are the opportunities for people practice leaders? As you see here, the opportunities are quite a few. Opportunities, the most important opportunity for them is organizations would look at them for help. Organizations, businesses, companies will look at HR and people practice leaders for help, because organizations would need help to bounce back. Organizations which are going to struggle, whose revenues and top lines and bottom line would be impacted, they would need help to bounce back, and they would need support. Organizations would need to transform themselves, redesign themselves. They would need help. Organizations now need to become more flexible, agile, and adaptive. They would need help. Organizations will need to come up with new business models. They would need help. They would need ideas. They would look at their people practice leaders, HR leaders, learning and development leaders, leaders who work in the people space to support them. Organizations would need to prepare their workforce for the new way of working. Millions of people in the industry have never worked from home before, while some have already worked from home before in the past, but there are majority of people have no experience of working from home. They need to be trained on how to work from home. Managers and leaders in organizations have always managed people inside the campus, either on the shop floor, on the production floor, or inside their office spaces. But now they're going to manage the people, lead their people remotely. They have no idea how to do this. So HR and people practice leaders, learning leaders will have to prepare their workforce for the new way of working. There are industries which will emerge stronger, and those industries will look for more talent. Companies, organizations which expand their business will look for more talent. And who will provide the talent to them? People practice leaders, the talent acquisition leaders, the talent, the HR leaders. They will provide that support. So that's a great opportunity for people practice leaders. So now the question is, are we going to leverage these opportunities, or are we going to let go? Now let's look at the areas where we can make impact. How can people practice leaders make significant impact, as you can see in these 5 different areas. The 5 different areas are recruitment, onboarding, engagement, skilling, and growing. As you bring up the next slide, you can see these 5 different areas. Please bring up the next slide. Can you bring up the next slide, please?
1 second.
Okay, so as the slide comes up, I will continue talking. So there are 5 different areas people practice leaders can make a difference. So how do we how you used to recruit in the past, how should we recruit talent for the new world? It's going to be different. You will look for different skill sets, you look for different competencies. The channel of recruitment would be very different now. You use people practice leaders used to conduct interviews, face-to-face interviews. They used to fly down candidates from one city to another for a face-to-face interviews. You would not need that anymore. Your interviews can happen online through video conference. You can use the latest technology, assessments, online assessments, etc., to assess people's skills, expertise, and competence. Artificial intelligence and data analytics will be very massively used for companies to source, select, and hire people. How are you going to onboard people in future? Onboarding traditionally used to happen in the campus. Senior leaders used to come and address. Some companies used to organize their onboarding in hotels. But now that won't be possible. Most likely it won't be possible. So most companies will onboard their employees, new employees, virtually. The question is, how do you create that experience? Yes, today we have the best of technologies, which can also bring gamification, engagement, fun element into your onboarding program, which can be done virtually. How are you going to engage with people? People will require engagement. They will need support. They will need support. They will need help to maintain their physical, mental, emotional well-being. They would need help. They would need counseling. They would need coaching. They would need motivation. They would need reward and recognition. How do you do that virtually? That's a challenge that people practice leaders would have. They would have to leverage technology to do that. They would have to train their leaders to demonstrate empathy for their people. The leaders need to focus more on outcomes than activity. How do you achieve an outcome? When did you work? Whether you spend 8 hours working or spend 6.5 hours, I don't think managers should spend time talking about that. They should focus more on outcomes. They should provide the freedom and the personal space to their employees that they need, because they're now balancing between work, home, family, personal hygiene, personal time, all of that. So they need help, they need engagement, they need support, and the managers need to demonstrate the highest levels of empathy. The highest level of empathy, I'm emphasizing, that's absolutely important at these times, because some of their team members might be struggling with emotional imbalance. They may be clueless about how do they balance between all the different aspects of their life, work, family, children, hobbies, and all of that. So they need help. They need help to build that emotional resilience. So people practice leaders need to ensure that they drive engagement and well-being through their policies, through their engagement strategies, and through the right technology. Skilling, this is going to be the most important one. And when we talk about reshaping people practices to drive business excellence, reskilling is going to play the most important role in driving business excellence, because the skills that businesses will need for tomorrow are going to be very different from the skills that we needed in the pre-COVID-19 era. I was talking to a couple of leaders from the banking industry, and they were sharing that some of their banking staff, customer support executives who used to meet customers, who used to welcome customers in the bank premises, now all of them need to be trained on how to talk to their customers, counsel their customers, provide consultation to the customers virtually. They have never used to do that. They have never been, they used to do that in the past. They need help. They need reskilling. I think the healthcare system in the UK, they have recently reported in 2019, only 1% of the patients went for online consultation. In the last 2 months, this has gone up to 100%. This online consultation with doctors has gone up to almost 100%. But now they have to retrain their staff how to enable that. They have to retrain their doctors how to enable that. So tremendous opportunity for rescaling. If you have to drive business excellence, rescaling is important. Organizations needs to bounce back. They need to come up with new business models. They need to have people who are capable of conceptualizing, designing these new business models. They need to train their people to embrace the new business models. So skilling, upskilling, reskilling, and cross-skilling are going to be absolutely important. Growing people. How do you grow your people? How do you provide them growth? How do you provide them career opportunities? How do we provide, ensure that the right people do the right job and keep growing and making and achieving their career aspirations? People practice leaders are going to play an important role because that's inextricably interlinked with growth of the organization. If you do not have the right people doing the right job, if you do not groom and grow the right people, if we do not grow our talent, we're going to lose them. So we are going to lose opportunities to have the right human capital to grow our business. So people practice leaders would have very important role across the employee life cycle, across these 5 blocks, building blocks of an employee life cycle. Hire the right people in the right manner with the right skill set. Onboard them well which gives them a sense of pride and feel good factor. Engage with your workforce, stay engaged, help them to build their emotional resilience, build their personal, mental, physical, mental, and emotional well-being, get them to collaborate, get your leaders to demonstrate empathy. Reskill and upskill your people to drive the needs of the business today and tomorrow. Grow your people, help them meet their career aspirations so that they can adequately enable the organization and business to grow. So this is a tremendous responsibility for people practice leaders. As we move on and look at some of the actions that people practice leaders need to take, they have to understand that remote work is real. HR will have to enable, facilitate, and accelerate this instead of being a stumbling block. They should ensure personal safety and wellness. This is absolutely critical at the workplace. If some people come back to the workplace, if they have to come back, then they have to ensure that personal safety and wellness is absolutely critical. Some of our industries, some roles, people have to come back to the workplace. A pilot for an airline company cannot say that I'll work from home. The pilot has to come back, has to come to work. But an airline has to ensure that there is absolute safety for the pilots, for their staff, and for the customers, for the passengers, for the guests. That's absolutely critical. Emphasize and enable distributed authority. So in traditional organizations, authority is centralized, but in a workforce which is distributed, you cannot centralize authority. You should have central view of what's going on, but you'll have to distribute authority. You have to give more powers to people. You have to empower people. So if your people practice is all about centralizing power, having centers of power, you will have to break down those centers of power. You will have to distribute authority. While you have central view, you will have central support system, but you will have to empower people across the organization. Focus on organization design and redesign. HR practitioners will have to redesign the organization. The traditional organization structures of hierarchy and metrics-driven organizations may not become very successful, may not really drive business excellence. So if you have to drive business excellence through people practices, you will have to make your organization structure agile, adaptive, flexible. An organization which is ready to respond to situations, demands, and challenges in a very agile and quick manner. You need to probably encourage lean organizations, which can probably respond faster to difficult situations. You need to relook at the roles, relook at the functions, relook at the types of employment, types of employees that you recruit. You may want to look at combination of gig workers and then probably full-time professionals. You have to really relook at the organization, redesign it, reshape it, reimagine it. That's the need of the hour. Facilitate collaboration in organizations. Without collaboration in a distributed environment, organizations will fail miserably. HR, quality, production, purchase, human resources, talent acquisition, different functions within the organizations will have to come together and collaborate. And they have to collaborate virtually in an online virtual environment without seeing each other. So collaboration has to be the norm. HR and people practice leaders will have to make that happen. Drive skilling, reskilling, and cross-skilling. We talked about it, which is the need of the hour. Everything that you do align to the strategic imperatives of the organization, to the strategic vision of the organization, which is about people, which is about protecting people's interests and organizational interests, so that it becomes a win-win for everyone, and we drive both business excellence and career opportunities for people, and you make your organizations good places for work. So as we move to the last slide, it talks about transformation. So people practice has to go through a makeover, has to go through a transformation, and the transformation is possible if you have the right, if we develop the right tool set, the right skill set, and the right mindset. And as we move on, you see a very famous, important statement by a very famous philosopher. He says, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So people practice leaders will have to become tough, not tough and aggressive in terms of dealing with people. They have to be absolutely empathetic towards people, but they'll have to become very, very tough and strong to deal with situations without getting hassled and perturbed and disturbed by what's happening. The skills for people practice leaders for the future. The first one is empathy, love for people, ability to influence and persuade people, ability to become performance consultants, ability to deal with. They need to become absolutely imaginative and creative. They need to leverage data analytics. Data is going to be the future. Everything that you will decide will depend on the business insights that you derive from your analytics. Understanding the business system, understanding technology. These are going to be important skills in the future. So this pretty much brings us to the end of this session. At the end, I would like to acknowledge references and sources that I have leveraged to source and research information. I would now like to open it up for another session. And you can also see my coordinates here. You need to reach out to me if you you can see here my email ID and then my Twitter handle. And if you need to reach out to me, please bring up the next slide. And I will now open it up for questions. I think we have about 7 minutes or so. So I would request you to ask a question in the chat window, and I request the moderator to help me in picking up a few questions, sharing those questions with me, and then I can try and answer. Please do type your questions on the chat. And once again, request you to go on mute when we're not speaking. Text your question on the chat window, and we'll try to pick up those questions. So I request the moderator to let me know if there are any questions.
Any questions, students?
Ma'am, I have put up in the chat box.
Sir, chat box. So there's a question in the chat box. Shall I read out for you?
Yes, that'd be nice.
So there is a noise in the background. But, we request our participants to please help us by muting yourself in case there's a noise from your background. It is Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi, please mute yourself. I'm not able to do from my side.
Yeah, I think it's better now.
Yes.
He has gone on mute.
So, Swati Narayan has asked a question.
Sir, yes.
And Swati, if you can speak your question, I think it'll be great.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, can I
Yes,
ask
go
you?
ahead.
Yes, please.
Sir, at this time, will gaining various specializations increase the chances of getting placed in a good company?
That's a very good question. If I have to respond to your question in one sentence, my response would be: don't put all your eggs in the same basket, in one basket.
Okay, sir.
So if you keep all your eggs in the same basket, then sometimes you might lose them. So
Yes.
it's important to pick up multiple specializations. There is a concept
Yes.
called the T concept, which essentially means that you specialize in one area, become the best in one area, but be good at many. So it's
Yes, sir.
absolutely important. So,
Sir,
for example,
sir,
if you, I think again we have some background noise. Okay, so if you're working for one organization, a particular industry in a particular domain, but if that industry is struggling in today's times, then you may become unemployable because you only know one particular domain. So think about picking up multiple specializations where you can cross skill yourself in different specializations, and if there is a problem in one domain, you can always switch over to another. There's a problem in one industry, you can switch over to another industry. So it's good to have multiple specialization, but the rule of the thumb is very simple: be the best in one, be good at.
yes, sir.
Don't try to be a jack of all trade in one. You have to be a
Okay, sir.
master in one
Yes, sir.
subject, be good at several other subjects.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have two more questions.
Please go ahead.
Sir, if recruitment process happens online, how will company ensure the honesty of the candidates, and how will they make sure any malpractices don't take place?
Okay, so if you're talking about assessments, online
sir.
assessments, there is always a
Yes, sir.
risk. Any assessment which is enabled by technology always has a risk. But with the advancement of technology, a lot has changed today. So today, the great example are this the Pometric centers. There's online assessment centers, which have the right technology. They have cameras fitted from multiple angles, and they can see whether the candidate is cheating, looking at books, or talking to somebody, etc. The technology has also advanced. But also there are other ways to handle this. One way possibly could be, set questions in such a manner that one cannot find answers in a book. One can respond only he or she has understood. The questions are about understanding, comprehension. Then if I have not understood, I cannot, scan through pages of a book and then find an answer. I'm giving an example. Another example could be reduce the duration of assessment so that you don't have time to talk to somebody. If you know the answer, you can give it then and there. If you don't know it, period. It doesn't help. So there are different ways you can deal with it. No method is absolutely foolproof, but if you are creative, you can find ways and means to gauge the ethical nature or the honesty and integrity of a candidate.
And so one last question.
Yes.
Hello. So what exactly are those skills the organization require from an MBA graduate in order to deal with the crisis that's caused by COVID-19?
Okay. So as I mentioned in the last slide,
Yes, sir.
I talked about the right tool set, skill set, and mindset. So they look for three things. So do you have the right mindset is the first thing they will look at before even they talk about skills. So do you have the right mindset? The right mindset is all about being the ability to take risks. Are you fearless? Are you the one who is willing to experiment, try, and so on? Do you have a growth mindset? Do you take accountability for your actions, or you pass on the blame to others? They would look at and are you the one who is willing to live with uncertainty? Are you comfortable with discomfort, or you are not? These are the mindset attributes they will look at. What are the skills they will look at? They will look at whether you are strong in your domain. So if you are from HR, are you strong in HR? If you're from marketing, are you good at marketing domain or not? They'll also look at your technology knowledge. Do you know the latest technologies in marketing? Are you good at digital marketing? Do you know the latest HR tech? If you are somebody from finance professional, are you good at fintech? Do you know blockchain? Do you understand cybersecurity, how it can have implications on financial or banking transactions? Do you understand the latest technologies in your domain? They will also understand and try to find out whether you have problem solving skills. Can you solve problems? Do you have influencing skills? It's not enough to have a great idea, but can you influence and persuade others? Can you communicate ideas, your ideas to others? Do you have the ability to connect the dots? Can you see the past, present, and future? And can you foresee? Do you have the right intuition, etc.? They'll also try to find out whether you are creative, whether you have the ability to innovate or not, because creativity and innovation are going to be absolutely essential to survive in the new world. So these are some of the skills they will look at. So it's what is a combination of mindset attributes and skill set attributes. Did I answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Suhas asked that due to this pandemic situation, there is a lot of economic crisis which is taking place. Will this crisis lead to unemployment, or will the students be able to find their right job by the chosen specialization?
Yeah, will it lead to unemployment? Yes, it will definitely lead to unemployment because some industries will struggle during this time. As I talked about at the beginning, it's a battle between life and livelihood. So life will take a priority and livelihood would definitely struggle, which essentially means economy will slow down, etc. So having said that, what does it mean for students, what opportunities and constraints that you have. So constraints are the recession, slowdown, etc. But opportunities are plenty, because some organizations will require skilled people. Organizations which are going to do well will need talent, and organizations, as I mentioned, in the healthcare industry, insurance, home entertainment, technology, collaborative platforms, medical devices, etc., e-retail, e-commerce, etc., will need loads of people. Their business will grow. One organization whose profits have increased by 78% is a company called Zoom, a virtual meeting platform company. When every organization went to the work from home model, everybody wanted a platform to conduct meetings, to hold webinars, to have one-on-one conversations, and so on. So this platform, this company which provides the virtual meeting and collaborating platform, suddenly saw an increase, 78% increase in their profits. So they would need more people because all of a sudden they have an increased customer base. So they will need more talent. So look for industries. Ask this question to yourself: which industries are going to thrive? Do I have the skills for these industries? What skills do I need to succeed in those industries? How do I find jobs in these industries? How do I understand who is hiring and who is not? Ask these questions to yourself. So find the right industry, the right organization, the right role, the right skill set, and use this opportunity, because the lockdown is a great opportunity. Don't let it go waste. Build your skills. Last 1 month, I know your online classes are going on, but you have more time to upskill yourself. Look at what industries are hiring, what skills you need to have. Pick up your skills in those areas, whether it is data analytics, whether it is cyber security, whether it is digital marketing. Understand where companies are hiring, what skills are important. Build your skills.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Suhas.
Any other questions? Surya sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, please. Yes, Dr. Mishra.
So the question is regarding the HR opportunities for MBA students. So we have already taken their interest that which specialization they want to opt for, and many of them have opted for HR specialization. So what kind of those skills that they should work on to crack their interviews which are expected by the industry?
Right. So the immediate need of the industry in the HR space is to make sure that we transition to the new way of working. HR will be primarily focused on that. Then they'll be focused on redesigning their own structure, HR structure itself, and the organization structure, roles, etc. And the third thing they would be focused on would be reskilling and upskilling people for the future. So these are the three areas where I see a lot of HR engagement, HR time going in. Now they will need people who can support this. So they will need people who come with strong problem-solving skills, good analytical bent of mind, who have got a strong business acumen, who can understand what's happening in the industry, who can understand what's happening in the business, and then how should we align our HR interventions, HR strategy to the change that's happening in the industry and in the organization, who can leverage data to read and interpret and get insights about what their people thinking, what are their tastes and preferences, what should how should they adapt the HR policies, etc. So I think analytics is going to be, HR analytics is going to be another important area. So problem solving skills, HR analytics, and of course, good understanding of technology, HR technology, for example, and then a lot of technologies which are getting added to this space would be collaborative platforms, collaborative technologies, learning management systems, and so on. I think holistic, I think exposure to these areas would be very helpful. This is what comes to my mind as top of the mind thoughts, Dr. Mishra. This is where I see organizations would kind of look at their talent within the HR pool. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So students, any other questions? In case you have any questions, you can ask now. Or even if you come across any question later, please let us know about it. We can always reach out to Surya sir and get answer for you. You can also reach out to Surya sir directly on his Gmail, Twitter. He has YouTube channels where he has actually covered a lot of those skilled areas, which industry look forward to from a professional. And since MBA is a professional program, industry expects you to have those skills. Something a common like a public speaking skill. So I have seen a lot of such videos from Surya sir on YouTube. I suggest all of you to please do log into the YouTube channel, subscribe it. I'm sure it will be very useful for all of you.
On behalf of Department of Management Studies, NHCE, I would like to extend my humble gratitude to our presenter, Mr. Surya Kumar Mohapatra. Thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today. Thank you for sharing the insights about the current situation and how skilling would be essential for all of us in order to adapt to the post-pandemic working environment. And thank you for addressing every question that was posed. It was a privilege for all of us to listen to you. I would like to thank Ms. Shilpi Khandelwal for sharing information about L&T Global and extending an invitation for all of us to be a part of it. Thank you, ma'am. I would also like to thank our head of the department, Dr. Sheelan Mishra, and our faculty coordinator, Ms. Pavitra Salankhe, for arranging this webinar and giving us all the opportunity to be a part of it. I thank all the faculty members who were part of the webinar and my fellow batchmates who exhibited their enthusiasm and fascination through questions. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Afrin, and thank you, Surya sir, for being here with us, taking out your precious time. I hope all of you would have got to know that yesterday HCSR has addressed more than 500 academicians across our Southeast Asian countries. So Surya sir, it's wonderful, having you here for this webinar, and thank you so much for taking out this time.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pavitra. Thank you so much for organizing the entire show. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.